G'day guys, Defiant from Defiant Mods. I've got the AMS out on the bench today. Number one's been throwing up an error. Generally it's because you've pumped some brittle filament through it, and it snapped off somewhere in there or something. There's usually something to do with shit filament, and we've been putting a bit of cheap filament through this and probably been guilty of not drying it properly. Considering the amount of work these little units do, you know, they thousands and thousands of retractions back and forth, hundreds and thousands and thousands of feeds, and when you're doing lots of color swaps and changes, if you're doing anything from cinder wing, well then you know what I'm talking about. So today this one's the one that's been throwing up the error, number one. Basically we go to feed filament into it. It accepts it. It lights up white to start with, tells it everything's working as it should. We feed the filament into it. It throws up a red and spits the filament back out, basically telling you exactly what's going on, that it can't feed the filament through, the filament's getting stuck. So basically I'll remove these, because what happens is that when you try and lift this up to get it out, these bits get stuck up underneath here. So if you're running these, pop them off. The reason we do that is they're just much easier to press. That is so much easier to press than pressing on that tiny little button. You know, that's a workout for your finger. That anyone that owns one of these knows what I'm talking about. Whereas it's just the difference is incredible on how much easier that is. But anyway, that's a simple mod. You can download these different buttons. You can get all sorts of different types of printables. Maybe Thingiverse. I'm printing a few more here, just to replace these ones that are worn out a bit, that pop off easier. Okay, so back to it. I've undone those two screws in the back. There's nothing. There's no magic behind that. There's just one screw there, another screw there. And then this unit will just lift up. It really is just that easy. Sometimes your little feeder thing down the back here will catch, but just push it in if you have to, like so, and it'll lift up like that. And then down the back you've got a couple of connectors which will pop out. These come out really easy, and that's it. That's your whole guts out. 2 screws and a couple of connectors. Well done, Bambu Labs. So we'll push that aside, and this is the unit we're dealing with. So we know we're dealing with number one feeder. That's the one with the trouble, and you can see I've been using a fair bit of cardboard reels. Honestly, I have no troubles. I hear tons and tons of people screaming about cardboard reels. We've printed off the little circles that you put on them, and honestly, unless the reels are damaged, which I'm not seeing a lot of, I'm not seeing a lot of damaged ones, they'll spin just perfect. There is the Hydra mod you can do. I don't need it. You know, we stick with commercial rolls until I have to run 2 kilo rolls through these. I won't worry about that too much. But other than that, it's been brilliant. I will give these a wipe down with ISO every now and then. Just a bit of the cheapy shit. I'll give it all a wipe down. I will push these open and blast them out with air. I've got a little air blower, and I blast these out, because what you find is that that going back and forth, up and down through these little gears, there's a little filament sensor in there that tells this that filament's there or not, and it's much like the filament sensor in a Prusa. It's just a little ball bearing that gets bumped to the side and deactivates and tells the machine, yes, there is filament, no, there isn't filament in there. What happens is that the constant back and forth of filament going through there, it can fill up with crumbs, filament filings can shave off and end up in there. It's just a gear thing, it happens. And I find that the best way to clear it out is just to, I like to pop the unit out, but you don't have to. Just run a filament back up and down through there while holding that open. Put your little thing on and make it easier. And then as you're doing it, blast it with air. Blast it through air everywhere. Anywhere you can get in. Get in through the sides here. Blast it down through the hole while you're holding it open. And it tends to free that up a bit. I'll even come up through the bottom. Once I've got it out, I'll blast up through the bottom where it feeds in through the bottom. And that in general keeps that little area through the guts of here nice and clean. I've had one in the whole time in all my AMSs now. I've had one clog up and not react to that and not work with that. Basically just popped it out, opened it up, took this section out, got into where the ball was, cleaned it out, put it all back together, and it's worked perfect ever since. Incredible little things, these. So we know we're working with number one. Number one will cross over to there. So somewhere in amongst this, it's telling us we've got a jam. And then I know it's not up this end because we can see, I can't see any filament sticking through there. Usually you can see a bit of it snapped off. So I'm trying to do this with one finger. Isn't as easy as it looks. But there you go. Oh, there you go. Look at that. And there's the filament snapped off clean in there. And that's what's gumming us up. That little bit of filament. Take it out. You know it's a wipe because it's pink. And there you go. Oh, look at that. And that's our problem right there. That's gone. Plug that back in. Put it back in the AMS, in the housing, and it's just that easy, guys. Really, it's not rocket science. It really is just that easy. I put it back in on the angle, so it's like that. Oh, sorry, trying to do this one hand. It isn't the easiest thing. But it is, it's when you got both hands, it is just that easy. I use my little tweezers and then I can put that back on over there. You can do this one with your fingers usually. And once that's back in, pop it down, put your screws on, and that's it, guys. No need to watch me do that, but it really is just that simple. And that's 90% of your jams right there. You know, 90% of your problems. Your other 10% will be, like I say, your little filament ball bearing sensor getting clogged up and jammed up thanks to the iron not iron filings, the filament filings, and that's it. And you'll be back up and printing in no time. Cheers, guys.